Well, we're live.
Okay, good.
So welcome everyone. We're so excited to finally be doing our awesome Google Hangout with Tabitha and Jen. I call her Jen because I feel like we're, good friends and I can do that.
That's me.
Good. So we're going to be talking about connecting with brands on Twitter. I am actually really passionate about Twitter. Granted, I have a lot of scheduled tweets on there, but I do talk to people still. I do connect with brands. I think Tani wanted me to mention one of my really cool experiences about Twitter is American Idol actually found me on Twitter a couple years ago. They sent me a tweet and said, hey, we'd love you to join us for an exclusive event in LA. And I was thinking, okay, it's one of those just general invites, and if you're in the area, come see. But it ended up being an actual invite for about a dozen or so influencers, mostly bloggers, some Twitter influencers, all moms, I shouldn't say all moms, all women, different backgrounds, and we came out, and they flew us out. We got to go behind the scenes of Hollywood Week of season 13. We got to meet Harry Connick Jr. That was the highlight. See some of the group auditions on stage, and there's a whole another story where there are some other cool things that happened because of that. But they found me on Twitter, and that's where we did all the connecting. So it was really, really a cool experience. So I love this subject, and I'm so excited to have Jennifer and Tabitha here to kind of show you the ropes and get you excited about Twitter again. So I'm going to turn it over to them so they can introduce themselves and let them, we'll just go from there. So go ahead, girls.
All right. Hey, guys. My name's Jennifer, and I'm with Penguin. And I've been blogging for about 3 years, and one of the first things that I did when I started blogging was set up all my social media. But I became passionate about Twitter. And so today I'm hoping that I can share a few tips and tricks, and I know Tabitha has a ton as well. So I'm going to pass it off to her, and she's going to kick this off.
Thank you so much. Well, my name is Tabitha Philen. I am the founder at InspiredBloggersUniversity.com, and I love sharing anything about learning to blog. But Twitter's kind of like my secret happy place. It's kind of crazy, but we're going to go started with the screen show. You got it, Emily?
Oh, yep, sorry. Now we practice this now. It's a little psychedelic as I get this started, so please be patient. It's going to kind of do this weird, yeah, exactly. But
we need freaky music playing whenever you do that.
Hold on. There you go.
That's awesome. That's so awesome. Okay, so we're going to talk specifically today about mistakes that bloggers make, and we want you to walk away feeling like you can establish your expertise as a blogger on Twitter and even make money doing so. So slide, please. There we go. Why Twitter? Twitter is actually an important part of your social media routine. Don't neglect it, because even though you might not see significant blog traffic is possible. But it's more than that, because you can establish yourself as an expert. Even if you're not an expert yet, when you start putting out content that makes you look like an expert, people automatically think, oh, she's an expert. So we want to do that, and we want to remind you too that Twitter, not being just blog traffic, is also a great way to talk to other bloggers. You can even talk to celebrities, and most importantly for our line of business, you can talk to brands, and that's how you can start making money with Twitter. So the next slide, please. Thank you.
Cute slide.
Yeah, it's a sweet little bluebird, and he's in his cage. You know, we have to remember the logo for Twitter is the little bluebird. And some bloggers get a little confused about what Twitter should be. And they take this poor little bluebird and they cage him up and they replace him with something different. We're ready.
Sorry.
Like this. This is a blue-footed booby, and I just like saying blue-footed booby. It brings out the pre-adolescent. But some of you guys, your Twitter is confused. It doesn't look anything like a bluebird. Maybe your profile picture is actually, your blog logo, or maybe you still have an egg head. I'm hoping no one watching this has either. But the day that I made the transition and turned my Twitter avatar into my face, it changed my relationships on Twitter. So maybe you're not actively finding people to follow. You should be finding people within your niche to follow often. You also need to be following the brands you love so you can interact with them. But we'll talk more about that in a little bit. Maybe you've never responded to a tweet or attended a Twitter party. Twitter is a conversation. It's an ongoing conversation. And sometimes it can feel a little difficult because you feel like you're jumping into the middle of a conversation and nobody wants to be that person at the party that just jumps in the middle of the circle and be like, hey, but Twitter is essentially what that's for. And maybe you follow everyone who follows you. That's a definite no. You don't want to do that at all because then you wind up following spammy people and people who are just. Is that scientific to say?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very, very true.
So that's some people. Some people are the blue-footed booby of Twitter. Let's talk about the peacocks, though. All right. Maybe your Twitter is more self-absorbed. Your feed on Twitter is only your blog content. Maybe it's all auto-generated from your blog and you never actually visit Twitter at all. Maybe your only posts on Twitter are things that you have linked from Facebook or for Instagram, and you've got this automatic flow of content. You're like, yay, I'm pushing out new content, but it's all about you and it's not about others. It's 100% me, myself, my blog, oh yeah, and maybe every once in a while my kids. Or maybe you tag random people in your tweets. I was telling Jen earlier, I had a friend, a really good blogging friend, who all of a sudden started tagging me in her tweets that were directing me, she was hoping I would go to her blog and visit. And I'm like, girl, you're spamming me. Quit it. You don't tag random people in your tweets. That's a very peacock, show yourself off approach to Twitter. And then some of you guys, your Twitter account might just be ugly. We got an ugly bird to show you. Look at that poor thing. I think it's a baby bird, but it's just plain ugly. And you'll know that your Twitter account is just plain ugly if you use the hashtag follow back. I'm sorry, only spammy people do that. Please don't use that hashtag. Maybe you're so afraid of using hashtags wrong that you never use hashtags. Oh my gosh, listen closely when Jen shares about hashtags with you because they are a treasure trove of just, it's like a way of putting yourself on a bulletin board and saying, hey, if you love hashtag this, I'm the person you need to see. And maybe you've never tagged a brand in a tweet. I am always engaging with brands on Twitter because for some reason they love it. They love Twitter. And the majority of the brands I have worked with have a very strong Twitter presence, and they love to be talked about. So you need to be tagging the brands you love or maybe the brands that your readers love so that you can start building those relationships. So let's talk specifically about how to use Twitter correctly. Twitter is actually a great way to grow your confidence. There are way too many people in our business who have this insecurity. Maybe it's because the majority of us are women, or maybe, we're introverts, or whatever the reason is. There's so many of us that need that self-confidence. Well, Twitter gives you that platform to do that because you can promote yourself as an expert before you're even an expert. It also helps you to promote balanced content, 80% someone else, 20% you, whatever ratio works for you. But it's all about balance. And then it's about connecting. Oh, this is the most important part of Twitter. Connecting, making those connections with others. All right, so I'm going to share with you some niche tips. Do you say niche or niche? Or niche? I don't know.
Depends on if I'm feeling fancy or I'm in yoga pants.
Well, I'm Southern, so you guys are just going to have to hang with me. I say niche. But you really want to have a very specific targeted audience on Twitter. I know I have 2 different Twitter accounts. The one at Tabitha Philen, I am out there pushing out content because I want to help other bloggers. So if you are, let's say you're planning a hand lettering series, well, you want to make sure that you are sending out, content based on hand lettering from your blog and from other blogs. You want to have a very specific targeted audience on Twitter, and don't just be random. So consider your target audience and then understand who is actually on Twitter. The majority of your readers may not even be there, but the brands who may be looking for a hand lettering, post to sponsor, they could be lurking and just waiting to find you. And then embrace your expertise. Every blogger is an expert at something. You might be a blogger, who with an expertise in changing diapers, but we all have an expertise in something. And there are people every day having babies who don't know how to change diapers. So you've got to embrace whatever it is that sets you apart from the rest. Embrace your expertise, the expert inside of you, and make sure you are promoting yourself that way on Twitter. Okay? Everybody deep breath. Whew, you can do this. You can accept yourself as the expert you are, I promise. And once you know what your niche is, what your purpose, your target audience is, this helps you generate your content. What are you going to post? Does it relate to your niche? If not, maybe you shouldn't be tweeting that out. Does it relate to your purpose? If not, maybe that should be for another Twitter account or maybe another social media platform. And is it focused on your expertise or what you hope to become an expert in? All of these questions can guide you towards what kind of content you should be sharing on Twitter. And Jen is going to tell us even more because she has awesome strategies. Go ahead, Jen.
So, thanks, Tabitha. Those are so awesome. So, like Tabitha said, you look at your niche and then you want to make sure that you're posting and you're sending it out to the right people. The way that I use Twitter, I don't just use one scheduler. I use many. I do use Hootsuite, Post Planner. I actually just learned I use it all the time for Facebook, but I've never really used it for Twitter. So I just sent out my first tweet about 17 minutes ago with Post Planner, so we'll see how that works, and that was all because of Tabitha. I use Pub Exchange, though, and that's something that not a lot of you are familiar with because I'm actually connected with a lot of you on Pub Exchange, but some of you may not be, and so that's just a platform where you can share each other's content, and I'm constantly on there finding people and finding different content to share that's relatable to what I already create, and so that's what I end up sharing out on Twitter. Another good rule is the posting 1 to 3 tweets an hour. I mean, sometimes I can get a little crazy and post a little bit more, but and that's usually if I'm in a conversation or if I'm just kind of retweeting a few things that I'm going through there. But I like to use other things too, like my calendar app, my calendar plugin that I have on WordPress, which some of you may have. What it'll do for me is whenever my post goes live, I can send it out to Google+, I can send it out to Twitter, and then I'll go back through and I'll add it to where it'll go out at different times over the next day, week, month, several months out, and then it'll constantly tweet out that post. And so it kind of keeps it relevant and it keeps it in the forefront. And then you add those hashtags, which we'll get into later, and that even doubles the audience that you're already looking at to see your content. And then so like she was saying earlier, the 80-20 rule, I try to stick with that. I do share more of others' content on Twitter than I actually share of my own. And then it's just great. It's great to use things like Pub Exchange and Hootsuite for different groups that you're in to be able to share out that content. The other thing is to get visual. So make sure that you share images with your Twitter. It's not just a tweet anymore. I mean, make sure it's a beautiful image, just like on Pinterest and just like on Facebook. You're going to get more engagement when you use hashtags and when you use photos. And just like before, make sure that your hashtags are going to relate to what you want your audience to see, but then you're going to double the audience that sees that when you use the relevant hashtag. One thing, though, that maybe you're not all familiar with is you can use your Google Analytics to see what kind of traffic you're getting from Twitter. So if I go into my Google Analytics, I know that Twitter brings in a lot of traffic. And I know everybody's like, oh, wait, DIY recipes and crafts, there's no way. Wait, it's in my top 5. Actually, it's number 4. That's how much traffic I get from Twitter, and you can too. So you definitely need to be utilizing it. It's a great resource. And if you want to see what kind of traffic you're getting, go into Google Analytics, go to Acquisition, go to Social, and then go to Network Referral, and then it'll bring up all of your social channels like Pinterest and Facebook, and then you'll see Twitter on there. And then just click on Twitter, and it'll actually list out every post that's bringing traffic to you. And those are the posts that I would look and say, okay, I'm going to find posts that relate to this in Pub Exchange and in other share groups that I'm in, and those are the things that I'm going to start sharing out on Twitter.
That's
so
a great
yeah, it's a great resource. So I mean, we're all in Google Analytics. We're all trying to figure out how to drive more traffic. Do it with Twitter. You can do it with Twitter, and so make sure that you do that. So in case you didn't write that down, it's Google Analytics, Acquisition, Social, Network Referral, then click on Twitter and find those links and just start sharing. So we can go to the next slide.
Sorry.
That's okay. Hashtags. Okay. So this is a great list that Tabitha actually put together on finding trending hashtags. So you can do that in multiple ways. What I would say, especially for the conference that's coming up, we know the hashtag is SnapConf. That's what we've been using. Tag the brands, I mean, that you want to connect with or that you know that you're going to meet with. Make sure you tag them and tag it with the conference hashtag so you know they know where you're coming from and they know that they're going to be seeing you there. But the other thing is why use hashtags? Twitter moves so fast that if you're not using hashtags, the people that follow you are more than likely following thousands of other people too. They're probably not going to see what you tweeted unless they are following you either on a list, which you want to be on, because the more lists you're on, the more amazing content that you have is being seen by everybody. But hashtags actually get your content seen more often. So use the hashtags. Now, you don't want to go crazy because you don't want to end up being, considered a spammer because it's hard to read a tweet if it's like hashtag hey, hashtag love, hashtag coupon, hashtag save. You don't do all of that. Just do your link and do 2 to 3 hashtags at the most. But it creates an avenue to where more people can find you because they're going to search through those hashtags and they're going to find your content. And the other thing is also, again, be visual along with these hashtags. Create a photo to go along with it because those are going to be clicked on even more. So to be who to connect with and how to do it authentically, tweet like a person. I mean, Tabitha and I were talking about it earlier. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to sound like a robot or like a dog. No dogs.
Sorry.
It's all right. You don't have to sound like a robot or a dog on Twitter. Seriously, act like a person when you're on there. Just like if you are going to meet somebody, in person for the first time, introduce yourself, say hi, be thankful, be nice, and, just, tell them a little bit about yourself and ask them about themselves because even though we all like to talk, others like to hear you say their name and they want you to ask questions about them because they want to hear themselves talk about their business and their brand. So make sure that you're social interacting just like you would in person on Twitter, and be helpful and show an added value. If you can have one and you want to work with them, show them the value that you can bring. and just have fun, because it is social. I mean, that's what it's social media, and we're supposed to be social and have fun with it. So just a couple of tips on that's great ways to grow relationships and be authentic. Okay, we can go on to the next one. Okay, so that's kind of what I just went through. It's okay. So just be authentic, be yourself. Tag the brands in your tweets and let them know that you're excited about seeing them. Add those hashtags when they engage with you. Respond immediately. Favorite their tweets or retweets, and just connect with them. A lot of the times when you're following a lot of people, sometimes you can get, sometimes when you start following people, you can get a lot of crazy private messages. For some reason, I don't know what it is. I think I'm on the crazy private message list somewhere out in Twitterverse. So it's hard to go through them. So I would just try to set aside some time to go through that list and make sure you're not missing a brand connection, because sometimes they are in there. I missed one a couple of weeks ago, but they were really cool, and they actually found my blog, and they connected with me through my email that way, because my membership, my messaging was just like bogged down. So just make sure that you are checking those messages as well. And then so brands, that's one of the things in growing the relationship. Tag the brand, include a picture, use the hashtags. Attend the parties. That's one of the things that we really haven't talked about. Twitter parties are amazing. Tabitha and I were speaking earlier about when I first started blogging, that is one of the things that I would do. I think it was SITs or something like that. But every Saturday morning at like 7 a.m., I would be online and, just doing the little Twitter party, and we would all connect, and you would meet other bloggers, and sometimes the brands would join in, and so it was really cool. And just it's nice to also do the Twitter parties that brands are hosting with other bloggers, because it gets you get out there and they get to know you better as well. And then the next thing you know, you might be hosting a Twitter party, and that's something else that Tabitha will talk about towards the end of this. That's a great way to earn money. But pitching. Make sure that you send pitches through email and connect with them through Twitter, because sometimes it's hard to find the correct person with a brand that you're supposed to send the pitch to, and Twitter's a great way to find that out. So these are all the sponsors that are going to be with us. There's actually a few more that aren't on this list right here. If you've never really seen a list on Twitter, which I hope you have, go to the Snap Conference Twitter handle, and then click on the little gear, and then it'll have a drop down. It'll say lists, and you can see the list that Tawny has created. Click on the 2016 brands, and you can follow that list and see all the tweets that they're sending out. I implore you, just connect with them that way. You see they're live tweeting, and that list will pull up all of the people that she's got added to the brands. And you can connect with them all that way, and it's super easy, and it's awesome that she's put that together, because I actually had created one, and then I was like, oh wait, I know she's doing all the work for me. So just join that list, and you can see all of the brands that are going to be at the conference, and just connect with them. All right, and so conference Twitter tips. This is I think the fun thing is we all want to connect with the brands before the conference, and we want to figure out a way to speak with them when we get to the conference, and sometimes it can be hectic. So connecting before the conference is great, but at the conference, when you're in an amazing session, start live tweeting all those golden nuggets that you're picking up. When someone says something amazing, start live tweeting. I know a couple of years ago there was a great session on skyrocketing your page views, and I was trying to take notes, and my thumbs were burning up because I'm trying to tweet a bunch of stuff at the same time. It's awesome, and make sure that you use the hashtag, because it's always fun when your hashtag starts trending, and when there's hundreds of us that are doing the same thing, it can really do that. Take pictures, because the pictures and the tweets, those are really going to stand out. And then always make sure that you're tagging your brands, and make sure that they know that you're talking about them. And it's fun. And then after the conference, don't disappear. We all work hard before the conference because we're getting geared up and we're so excited, and we're at the conference and we're just lost in it, and we're having so much fun. And then we get home, and we forget to unpack for a week and a half, and then we finally start going through our notes and stuff, and then 4 weeks down the road, you're like, oh, maybe I should connect with a brand. Do it sooner. I mean, really reach out to them and connect with them, and, you know, by name, let them know, hey, I really enjoyed meeting with you and would love to work with you, and talk to them and really create that relationship. So just like you would when you meet someone live, do the same thing on Twitter. I mean, it's a personal experience, and it can be really fun.
It is fun. I think conferences and mingling and being on Twitter all at the same time is one of my favorite things to do. So I will open up my laptop and I'll live tweet from whatever session I'm in, because it's just so much fun. And then you wind up tweeting with someone and you're like, wait, are you in here? And you're like looking around the room trying to figure out who it was. And anyway, I digress. Sorry. It's fun, though.
No, I love that, too. I was just going to say I love when you're tweeting and you're like, oh, hey, they're tweeting, and you're tweeting each other and retweeting each other, and I feel like it builds relationships that way, too, so it's fun.
I think so, too. I agree. Well, we've quickly walked you through, you know, how you can build your confidence on Twitter, where you should find your content, how you should send your content out, and how you should make those connections. And I think one of the amazing things about Twitter is when you can combine those things, that's when you can really cash in. Just to prove it, you know, Emily mentioned American Idol, and then Jen mentioned how a sponsor tried to reach out to her through Twitter. Well, I keep a really close eye on who's following me. And it was towards the end of last year, I noticed Curad, the adhesive bandage company, started following me on Twitter. So I immediately followed them back, and I sent them a private message. I don't send a pitch through Twitter, but I do like to start the conversation through Twitter. So literally, how I responded to them, I said, hey, thanks for following me. I have 4 kids with 8 knees and use adhesive bandages daily. I have a great idea for how we can work together. If you'd like more information, let me know who I should contact. They sent me a private message back with the name of the PR person and the email address. I sent them an official pitch by email. I had to come up with an idea really quick since I told them I had an idea. And what do you know? I actually have a relationship with Curad now, and that would not have happened if I had not approached them through Twitter. So you really need to be watching to see the brands that are following you, the brands that are replying to you, and you might be surprised. You might be really shocked at how much money you're leaving on the table, you know, on Twitter, because you need to be talking to these people. If they're following you, then they already see that you're a person of value and that you contribute to their target audience. Why not take some money from them? Anyway.
Oh, sorry.
No, I'm good.
No, that was fantastic. I hope that was the last slide, right? I haven't missed a slide or something, because, you know, I wouldn't put it past me to have totally dropped half your slides during that whole thing. So.
You did awesome, Emily. You did awesome.
Yeah.
No, I think that was great. I don't know that we have any questions yet. I was kind of Skyping with Tani on the side because I'm afraid to click anything outside anything in the Hangouts, because we could have technical difficulties I could never solve. But a couple things that I wanted to reiterate that you gals said that I thought were, well, everything was awesome, but a couple things that were good reminders for me was, one, the hashtags. Now, I use hashtags when I'm in like Twitter parties or at an event, but I'm not so great at including them in just conversation or even with putting out, sharing my content. I don't always use them like I should or as specifically as I should. So that was a good reminder. And I also really was fascinated by the Google Analytics as far as seeing which tweets or posts are getting the most attention. I go in there and I just kind of see where my traffic's coming from, and sometimes I drill down for my blog posts, but I've never drilled down just specifically to look at Twitter. So I thought, oh my goodness, I need to go and check that out. So I'm excited to kind of do a little research and then see what's doing well and kind of maybe rework my strategies of what I'm sharing or when I'm sharing. So I thought that was fantastic. And then photos. I share my blog posts, but I don't always attach a photo. I just think, oh, the photo's in the post, and they'll click over and they'll see it. But you're right. There's something, at least when I'm watching, because I use TweetDeck on my home computer, and so I have lots of columns going. And the ones that have photos attached, because I have the little preview toggled, are the ones that I'm clicking on and I'm reading or retweeting. And so that was a really good reminder to make sure I'm physically attaching photos to especially recipes and projects, like you said, that I'm sharing. And the other thing was just, you mentioned the lists, and I've created some lists. Sometimes they're private lists because they're just for me, but I do love utilizing lists because it kind of hyper-focuses what you're watching. And so again, when I'm on, and I have multiple columns going on my TweetDeck, I can be looking at different lists, and it just kind of helps focus the specific content. And so instead of seeing, you know, all 3,000 people that I'm following or whatever tweeting all at once, I'm just looking at my favorites, or I'm looking at social media, or I'm looking at, you know, food bloggers or entertainment news or whatever. So I think lists are amazing for that. So those are the things that I loved.
I think lists are a great way of organizing, because some people, you know, they look at Twitter and they're like, there's no way I can understand that, and it moves too fast. And it's a great way of organizing your feed so you can find what you want. And talking about the hashtags in conjunction with lists, I have always, you know, whenever I really understood Twitter and started using hashtags, I was always gaining new followers, and I was always being added to these lists. Well, then it's like I got lazy, and for a couple of months, I didn't use any hashtags, and all of that stopped. So suddenly I realized, oh my gosh, wait a second. I'm not getting any followers. I'm not being added to lists. I started using hashtags again, and there it goes.
No, and what do you think about, because I know some people create their own hashtags and I did kind of for a while. I had a hashtag I used, so I knew it was just my blog content, and then I kind of was like, I don't know how useful that is. I mean, do you either of you kind of utilize a custom hashtag when you're posting either your own content or, you know, basically your own content?
I don't do it on Twitter as much, but I do that on Instagram. So.
No, that's good. I just was curious as to how if either of you utilized a kind of a custom hashtag for your content.
Yeah. I actually have several hashtags that I've created, but I feel like it's a great way on Twitter. It doesn't work on Pinterest. It kind of works on Instagram. It's a great way to search and connect. It's almost like a Snapchat conversation. You know, it's a way of connecting it all together so you can find it later.
No, that's great. That's great. Well, I don't know if we have any questions. Tawny's not seeing any. I've kind of just tried to check a couple places, so that's good. But I just want to thank Jen and thank Tabitha. That was really awesome. For those who are new, I think it was great. Or I shouldn't say new. Maybe those who aren't as into Twitter as they should be. And for those of us who thought that they kind of knew Twitter, that was a really great kind of refresher course. And I'm really excited for all of us to get to Snap and be able to interact with brands both in person, and like you said, especially I want to mention, connect with them after the conference. Those brands, I mean, brands are on Twitter like crazy, and make sure once the conference is over, like they mentioned, thank them and you know, maybe tease them with some ideas you've got for working with them, and make sure that you connect offline and continue that conversation. And some of the opportunities like the Cure ads and all these other things, American Idol, all these crazy things, you know, you never know what relationships will come because of a tweet that you've sent. So anyway, thank you girls for joining us, and you'll see Tabitha and Jen at Snap in person, and so you can, you know, pick their brains a little more on their Twitter expertise. And
down.
But yes, we're gonna but thank you all for joining us today for our hangout, and we look forward to seeing you at Snap, and we will see you soon. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye, girls.